Did you start streaming and
Yeah.
we just got quiet?
Well, we got quiet except for you doing inventory over there.
Yeah, it's
Well,
like,
I was trying
like-
to find my book note to see if the little
I'm ready.
link was scaling up. That's
Clean-
gonna look so cool. Not that you can see it because it's blurring it out. But this looks amazing. Or at least it will. Yeah, my recommended feed on YouTube right now is all like Book Nook stuff. Not that I'm complaining. It is a fun rabbit hole to go down. There are some rabbit holes that they're just either overwhelming by the amount of content or whatnot, but the Book Nook rabbit hole has been very fun to go down.
What's up, Domicile? How you doing, buddy?
Am I on the... Are we streaming?
Indeed.
We are streaming.
Okay.
I am checking one thing, but we'll get started in just a moment if you guys are ready.
Yep.
Excuse me. All right. I was gonna try to do something fancy tonight with like a song, but
Do it.
Oh, we should do something fancy for next week.
for next week,
Yeah.
the song that I had in my head, I thought was a Christmas song, but it's actually not a Christmas song. My daughter's been watching Sound of Music, so the song "A Few of My Favorite Things" came to mind.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's in my head as a Christmas song, probably because some company used it as part of their marketing for Christmas. But
You drinking coffee?
No.
9 o'clock at night?
No.
Oh,
Tea.
okay, cool.
Same stuff
I'm
always.
drinking coffee at 6:30.
What's your flavor of choice when it comes to teas?
Arnold Palmer, right?
Oh.
Yeah. Yep.
Isn't that like
Half
tea
lemonade,
and
half.
lemonade?
Yeah.
Okay.
Surprised you didn't have it when you were here.
Well, I only drink herbal tea,
Gotcha.
so I saw it while I was there. Yeah.
Yeah, you saw Wes's private fridge in his workshop, right?
You clearly didn't have the full Southern experience if you didn't have sweet tea, so you just have to come back.
The full Southern experience.
Hmm.
I'm more South than you. How are you considered the South? And I'm
How's
not?
that? How's that?
Oklahoma is more South than North Carolina.
You're drunk.
No, I'm not. Come on now. Let me
Okay,
find
bring up the map so we can move on.
Are we talking like geographically or like culturally?
Probably both. All right, here we.
We'll wait.
I could be wrong. You said that you said
We
that
are on the same parallel, sir.
I never heard the Midwest referred to as the South before. That's all.
Well, it's just funny because it's like the only thing more south than me is Texas. Is Texas
Yeah,
not the South?
it's southern United States, but not the South.
It's Southern United. So when we talk about the South, we're talking.
I mean, you
about,
can't
like-
claim two cardinal directions at the same time. You can't claim you're west and south at the same time.
See,
Yeah.
that's what I never understood about like living.
I live in Southern California, but I'm not going to say I live in the South.
That's true. LA is more south than both of us,
Yeah.
right?
So when we talk about South, we talk about like civil South.
I think Civil War South when I think South. That's just
Yeah.
me. And I know that's, I don't know.
So like Georgia, Louisiana, Florida, Tennessee, the South.
Right.
All right.
All right, I'm glad we got that cleared up.
Yep. we
Yeah,
gotta clear
I mean,
it
that
up.
was
Good to go.
important. You guys.
Important topics for
We lost our one viewer already. Dang it.
geography.
We'll have to do a poll. Figure that
Well,
out.
you say the
Third
southern
grade geography.
The southern experience threw me off because I'm like, I think sweet tea is more of a thing here than it is there.
No way. There's zero way.
I think so.
We'll consult the Google later.
Okay. Where is tea more popular, Oklahoma or North Carolina?
Okay.
I'm ready when you are, Sean.
Are we done with the tea debate? I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. We can move on to barbecue after.
Have
that.
you guys heard of Mr. T?
Not very sweet though.
No.
That was horrible.
I pity that fool.
Yep. All right. What's up, Internet? You're listening to the Making Geeks podcast, the podcast for makers, families, and geeks. Happy Thursday.
Thwip Thursday.
Thwip Thursday, is that what
Yeah,
you said?
I just made that up.
Okay. I'll go with it.
Yeah.
I'll pick up what you're putting down. Thwip Thursday. Because the
All right.
movie came out today, right? Not last night?
I think it came out today. I'm
The
ignoring.
official release date is the 17th, which is tomorrow. But there was a lot of early showings today,
Yeah,
which always starts confusing me.
yeah.
I know that midnight showings had been a thing for a long time, but I have friends here that went to like a 5 o'clock showing.
hmm
So I don't think people know how to operate calendars anymore, or people
Yeah.
just.
It seemed like around here they stopped. They used to have the midnight showings like strictly at midnight, and there was no
Yeah.
pre-showings before that. But I think it seemed like as an industry they went away from that, at least in my area, because I think kids were staying out too late, and it was like causing like incidents and stuff. And so I think they're leaning less on that line than they used to. But that's just my perception of it.
So it's
I
a more
think it's
like
probably accurate.
like a Black Friday thing where it's
Yeah.
technically Friday, but we'll start it on Thursday. It'll be fun.
Which that's changed a lot in the last. We didn't talk about that this year, but that's changed a lot. Like I remember 10 years ago, there was nothing on Thursdays. It was like the sacred day, but it would, start ridiculously
12:01.
early. Yeah, but then they started like creeping in and actually having stuff on Thursday, and it took some of the appeal and the novelty out of like the Black Friday, sales events that people are crazy for. But this year it seemed like they went back. They backpedaled on that, like Target, Walmart, at least around here, they didn't have anything on Thursday, which I'm happy about. I don't want them to have to work on Thursday.
Yeah, everything here. I don't know if it was the same where you guys were at, but everything was shut down.
Mhm.
Walmart was shut down, and for Walmart to be shut down, because Walmart is like a 24/7, 365 kind of store. No, they were shut down. Everything was shut down on Thursday this year. I was like, wow, that is the first time I think I've ever seen that happen.
I think it was similar here too. Were you guys ever into the Black Friday thing? Did you ever go to like any of the waiting in line, doing all that stuff?
I didn't have a choice because I worked at Target. When I first moved to Raleigh, I worked at Target the first year, then Best Buy for like 5 years after that.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I
so you're
worked
in the thick of it.
Yeah, but during that time, Catherine, wife Catherine, and her family, her sisters, made like a thing out of it. They actually look forward to doing like the craziness, like not like running over people, but just like camping out stores for like that one cool sale. And like I would bring them like hot cocoa at like 4 a.m. or something in line. It was just kind of fun. We didn't have kids at the time, but now like the sales aren't really that great, and I don't think there's like the fervor and the draw and the appeal that it used to have. I think when they started, like I said, they creeped into Thursday and it kind of ruined it for a lot of people. And I think people just shop mostly online now. So I don't.
We had a family tradition for years where we'd have Thanksgiving at my in-laws' house, and I'd bring over the newspaper that had all the Black Friday ads.
Yep.
And we would all sit around the table, look through the ads, mark what we wanted.
Circle.
Well, circle them, but it's also the night where we would kind of do our Secret Santa thing between the adults.
That's cool.
So we would start building the list, and then we'd exchange names for who we're going to get gifts for the year, and it was a little bit of an event, and that's kind of died off in the last 3 years, and I think a little bit of the excitement and fun has kind of gone away with that too. I would have went in line, but after Thanksgiving that night, we'd go and we'd drive by to stores and just see the craziness.
Yeah.
Just laugh.
Yeah. Sometimes I'd go to the store the next day, just by myself because I was able to sneak it a little bit faster. But yeah, a lot of that's gone, and yeah, I guess that's what happens. Things change. So.
Yeah, when my parents lived in Texas, when we would go down to Texas for the holidays, it was more of a thing down there because they have bigger stores like Fry's. I say Fry's because I would always go to Fry's.
Fry's is awesome when it existed.
Because like there's stuff down there, yeah, when it existed, gosh, there's stuff down there that I just didn't have access to up here, like with electronics and everything like that. But I would always go more for the spectacle of Black Friday rather than actually shop, just to hang out with like friends and stuff like that. And it would be so funny to see how different an experience Black Friday was at different stores. Because it like at Target and Fry's specifically, I remember one year I went with some of my friends and we were standing outside and there was like employees like handing out like granola bars and stuff like that to everybody in line. Everybody, when they opened the doors, everybody got a shopping cart, was walking around like talking to people. Hi, how's it going? And then we went to Walmart and oh my gosh, people were like fighting. There was just it was insanity. And I was like, why is there such a different dichotomy between one store over here and one store over here, where over here they're like granola bars in conversation and over here it's like body slams and bath bombs or something like that. It was more, yeah, it was always more than
I'm writing that phrase down.
Body slams and bath bombs. Title.
T-shirt right there.
Yeah. But yeah, now I just don't care.
Yeah.
I want to care because I think there's a certain fun in it. Mm-hmm. Aside from like the rampant consumerism, it was a little bit of fun, but I don't feel that way anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's an age thing or a parent thing or a
crotchety old person thing.
Yeah, I don't care.
I think it's an all of the above thing.
There's nothing I want that would warrant any of this hassle.
You know why? It's because Walmart doesn't sell resin printers.
Yeah. Yeah, we get in line for that, admittedly, probably.
Yeah. I mean, if they had a Elegoo Saturn or Elegoo Jupiter as a doorbuster for like $100, could you imagine all the makers?
It would draw a very specific crowd.
It would. I would want to go just to meet people because like general public wouldn't know what the hell that is. So that would be a great way to distill my kind out.
You'd be like little maker meetup in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if a strictly maker-centric store, strategically placed, would actually do well anywhere.
Oh man,
it would be hard to differentiate for that from Michaels nowadays.
Oh, the hell with Michaels.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
But
could you imagine though, like at the department store, okay, this department is Jocko whatever stuff. This department is progressive merchandise. This department is, and the departments are based on the different channels that are set up for stuff.
That'd be funny.
Dresses like half of it is just ice picks. And ice picks and knives.
Yes. Oh my gosh!
Fine cutlery.
Anybody not in the industry walk in there and just be so confused. Like, I don't understand.
If I ever had the means to do so, I would love to buy a warehouse in the area because we have a lot of open land here still, and fairly cheap. At least where I am, surprisingly, in Southern California, and do something like that, and like maybe like rent out. Like this section is for your guys' merchandise, and we'll work it that way. I think it'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Even if it was like a seasonal thing.
Yeah, like a pop-up store.
Every fall. Yeah.
Yeah, Halloween, was it the Halloween stores do that crap?
Spirit Halloween.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Make our pop-up stores.
I've never been in one of those.
What, a Spirit Halloween?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have.
It is. It's an experience.
Apparently.
I would go just for the experience. Kind of like Black Friday. Go for the experience. Don't go plan on buying anything.
That's how IKEA was.
I think it's tough for us right now because we go in there going, I could make that better at home if I actually really wanted that thing.
But will I? No. Might as well buy it.
That's always the downside. I feel that way all the time.
Yeah.
So they're building one of the largest IKEAs in the country by my house right now, I think. And I haven't been in IKEA in years, and I kind of want to go in to look, but I can't bring myself to buy anything there. So
No. What have you guys been up to?
Yeah,
Sorry.
what have you been up to?
I was asking y'all, but are you redirecting it to me?
Yep.
Let me ask you a serious question. So, at what point is it that it becomes creepy to print like a ton of Robert Downey Jr. and Tom Holland heads on my resin printer? Like, at what point is it too creepy? It's hard to see that.
I think it depends on the. I think it all depends on the arrangement of them.
Oh no, I'm dropping them. So I'm trying to print the optimum size head to replace ones of action figures that I've decapitated.
Oh.
So you can see Tom Holland there.
I understand your social media posts now way better
Yes.
than just the pictures themselves. That's cool.
Thanks. All right, I'm trying to fight the together mode thing. Let me disable that real quick.
So they're do they still? I don't even know if they still have it. There was a magazine called Wizard. There was a comic book magazine that was kind of like a
cool
compilation.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I had it for years, but in the very beginning of that section was like the editorial letters and stuff like that, and they would always showcase like custom-made action figures that people would make.
Yeah.
And it was always fascinating. It's like, hey, this is how it started out. This is what it looks like now. And it was always so cool to like see people do that, where you take action figures and like pop off the heads and.
Yeah, so I'm trying. I don't know. It's probably not coming through on my camera, but I'm trying to like make it look like his body, or Peter Parker's body, is like wilting away. So basically, for those that are wondering out there in TV land, I'm creating a, I guess it's almost like a dystopian Avengers Infinity War snow globe.
Play checkers with
Oh,
all
you're
the
probably
pieces.
getting around to that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We
Yeah.
talked about it a while ago.
Oh.
Yeah. So I've got a snow globe from, it's like an Elf on the Shelf something I got at Michael's. Shout out for Michael's again.
The M word.
It's like it's not an Aqua one. It's driven by a motor and it flings the balls around, so I don't have to worry about using water in the thing, because then I would have to like be concerned about like what kind of glues I use, make sure I use like oil paints, and the thing's going to be pretty big, so I don't want to have to like pick up like a basketball size snow globe and shake it around. I think that would be kind of dangerous. So I've got
It
Thanos
would also be funny for the video, but
behind. Yeah, I got Thanos in the background. He'll be like in the background of the planet or whatever, and I'm gonna have. So it'll be the scene for those that are not able to look at home, look at the camera feed. It's the point where Peter Parker dissolves into ash, or whatever you want to call him, from Infinity War, when Iron Man's holding him.
Spoiler alert. By the way.
Yeah, spoiler alert. So I've cut off his legs, and I've like sanded them and scratched them away, so it looks like they're like kind of particulate is missing or whatever. And then I'm going to come in with like some sand, like dark sand and stuff, and like draw kind of like the Hiroshima like shadows on the walls of the people that got blasted. You know, you've heard about that stuff, right? Where like the outline of the people were like imprinted on the wall. So I'm going to have like the legs on the ground, but like the imprint of where the legs were, kind of like the ash fell there before it like got whisked away. And so I'm 3D printing Star-Lord's blasters that are scale side. Those are going to be on the ground, glued down. Maybe his helmet, I'm not sure, because he, went away before in the scene. It's not completely 100% accurate to the moment, because after I've watched that scene way more than any person should at this point, and I'm still yet to watch it isn't enough. I've picked up some weird discrepancies in watching it too, based on what Iron Man's wearing. There's even some questionable moments that I'm like, how does he have that on right now, or what happened to the previous clothing in the previous shot? I'll explain. It's gonna have to be a video on it to itself, I think. But he has a hoodie on that he leaves the planet with, that he, at the beginning when he starts fighting the guys, he like pulls these drawstrings and it like tightens the hoodie around him, and it like then the nanoparticles get activated and come out and like cover him in the armor or whatever. So in the scene he has that hoodie on, at least a variant of it. obviously the action figure doesn't have a hoodie on, so I'm not gonna recreate the hoodie because that's gonna be a pain in the butt. So I'm just leave him with the armor on and just replace his head with the characters. So like I had to chop off Iron Man's helmet from the figure. I'm holding it up here for them to see. So I chopped it off and also chopped off Spidey's head. And I found models online after a lot of searching. I think one of them cost like $4 on like CG Trader or something, and bought.
I was gonna ask you where I got those from.
Tom Holland head and a Robert Downey Jr. head, and they printed. And I'm just kind of printing various scales to get them to fit. Like I've caliperized them, to check the height, but they still don't look right. And I think they're somewhat stylized on the figures, or their head's smaller than they're supposed to be. I think it's just a style choice. So it's kind of throwing me off.
Makes them look more muscular.
It does,
the head a little smaller.
Like that whole action figure stuff.
Yeah.
Like Thanos' head is super
design.
small. I'm holding it up. Like, I don't know, it may not come across in the camera, but it's like really small.
It's one of the things we teach in character design. If you want a character to look stronger, you make the head smaller because it makes its
like
shoulders appear broader.
It's like the whole fashion designer thing where they're like 18 heads tall to make them look luxurious or whatever. But yeah, I'll have to do a little bit of cheating and stuff. But yeah, for the posing, it's kind of neat. So they actually came on these little plastic pedestals I'm holding up to the camera again. There's like a Black Widow. And all the people were standing straight up. And then I used Black Widow as the test. And I actually applied like heat to her ankles and to her knees, and it allowed me to bend them. Otherwise, they're really rigid plastic, ABS, I guess. And then once it cools in that shape, it more or less retains that shape. I consider doing that, but I think that's going to be magnetic, or not magnetic, staticky, and stick to the inside of the
the
sphere.
Globe.
Yeah. So I considered using styrofoam, but I think that also gets stick. I can just imagine that. And the one that I have are like little pellets. They're like plastic pellets there's little impellers spinning around. And it's like flinging them up and around. I hope to get this done before this weekend, just for, Spider-Man interest. But my kids were sick throughout the entirety of last week. They were sick at the beginning of the week, but then even after we got our tests and stuff for them, apparently we got the wrong tests that the school didn't like, and just all the timings and stuff. They ended up missing Monday through Friday with just a cold.
Yeah.
And so
it's a big flaw in our system right now.
It screwed up my timeline for everything I was supposed to do here, because then I was like running them around to doctor's appointments and testing appointments, and they're coming in and interrupt me. So pretty much all last week was a wash for me.
So this is going to be a video that you're going to put out before Christmas?
Yeah, hopefully get it.
For sure.
I mean it's Christmas themed, right, with the snow globe-ish thing, and it's also Infinity War is, it's sort of like a dual
Spider-Man
thing.
theme.
I try to get it done this weekend for Spider-Man specifically, and then it'll still apply to the Christmas, but that's not going to happen. So if I can get it done before Christmas, I'll be happy. Yeah, that's the goal.
That is cool.
Thank you.
I've been doing more resin printing, but specifically for a end of the year award for my my esports team. I did a Rocket League MVP award, and I also did a League of Legends that wasn't 3D printed, but it was actually cut out on acrylic on the Glowforge. And I have those posted on my Instagram story right now, but I'll move those to the regular feed if anybody's interested in seeing those. And it came out all right. I was in the dark last night trying to finish the bases for both awards. So the insert cut that I did manually with a chisel for the League of Legends award is a little bit janky, but it'll do the job right now. So that, and just trying to wrap up the year with finals for my students, and what else? That's probably enough for now. So, yep, that's what I've been up to.
Yeah. So I'm working on my other Christmas video. I'm doing Hyrule hot chocolate bombs. So I'm taking my recipe that I came up with last year for Hyrule hot chocolate, and I'm making hot chocolate bombs, which I didn't know was a thing. I don't know how I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't know it was a thing. Where it's just like a big lump of chocolate that you put in hot milk or water or whatever, and it dissolves and turns into hot chocolate. And we went to a store called, oh no, what is it called? Something and something. Williams and Sonoma. That's what it is. Are you asking a question?
Yes, I'm asking a question.
What?
Are they? Are you gonna have them in a bag?
A bag? No.
Yeah.
What?
In the video?
Should I have them in a bag?
I mean, isn't that a further Zelda reference to have them like a bomb bag or whatever?
It could be.
No.
I mean, it could be.
Or the bomb? What are they called? The bomb shoes or whatever? Like the little mice.
Well, I wasn't gonna make like actual Zelda bombs. What I'm doing is
Oh.
that
Well,
I
that's a missed
designed
opportunity.
out. Speaking of 3D printing, I designed out a Deku shield.
Oh,
and,
okay.
and a Hylian shield. I
Yeah.
haven't taken it off its rafters or anything. And they have little mounts on the back that I'm gonna feed a straw through. And so I'm gonna take my 3D prints and make a mold, and then I'm gonna cast chocolate into the mold.
Okay.
And then feed them through, and so you have this chocolate shield attached to a straw. So all you have to do is dip the
Okay,
straw in
that's
your
cool.
hot thing,
That's a
then
cooler
stir it
idea.
around. Yeah,
I like that. Cool. Please
and
continue.
So I'm trying to finish up working on that, but my 3D printer has given me so much grief that even though this was a successful print, it doesn't look great, and I don't know if I want to like take the time to try and reprint it again and again to get it to the point where it looks good enough to make the mold out of, to then cast it in chocolate, or if I should just do this and just whatever.
Do you have any modeling clay?
The problem, the only reason why I don't want to put like filler or modeling clay in that is that it's going to be, I'm using it with food. So is modeling clay food safe?
I mean, you're taking it out, right? After you make the mold?
Yeah, because you make the, like you make the print, and then
Right.
you mold the print and then cast it. I don't know. I guess I could. I didn't think about doing that because I'm like, oh, like I'm going to be working with food. Anything that
That's
I
true. Yeah,
have to work
it's
with
a fair
has to be
point.
food safe.
Yeah.
Like even if it's residual, whatnot, I want it to be food safe, just
Right.
to be better safe than sorry. But I can look that up probably. But that's what I've been working on, and also like delving into the realm of book nooks, because I had an idea for a book nook, and that turned into 2 book nooks, and now it's 4 book nooks, and so I am knee deep in book nooks right now, which I'm not complaining about because my laser cutter has been going full blast, cutting out designs out of cardboard to rescale them and change them and all kinds of stuff, and I've been having fun with that.
We also shouldn't gloss over the fact that Wes, you released a video recently, your Glowforge video.
I did. I released a Glowforge video. I
A
wouldn't have,
Glowforge video.
it may not be my penultimate one, hopefully, but I thought it was okay.
I thought it was okay too.
It was definitely a different take, and I know that you had kind of warned me ahead of time that you were going to talk more about the process.
Yeah.
But I was watching with my wife, and you kind of finished. I'm like, wait, we were really waiting for more about actually seeing the printer and the next step. So hopefully that will leave people wanting for that next video. So I would, if you can, not wait too long before you get that out. I think there's people that want to see your take
Okay.
and your setup.
How do you feel the reception's been on that video?
I mean, the people that have watched it and commented has been good. That's all I can really tell. As far as performance-wise, it's better than what we had in the summer, but it's not equal to like the performance of previous previous Christmas time videos.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sub 1,000 right now. It's been out for a couple days. But my K40, my most popular K40 video took like a month before it took off. So who's to say? I don't know.
See, I would think like, especially with this holiday season in particular,
Right.
that Glowforge and laser cutting content is just going to explode. Because think of how many people are getting a Glowforge for Christmas this year.
Yeah, maybe that's how I could do the video. Like, did you get a Glowforge for Christmas? Let me help you out.
Got a Glowforge for Christmas? What's next?
Except that I'm wondering if the video came out more like in October, you would have seen a little bit better traction as people were thinking ahead for Christmas. A lot of people's holiday dollars are kind of already spent at this point, so hopefully that doesn't hurt too much in the long run.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
That was something that I I thought about a lot, especially in terms of trying to come up with my projects that I want to work on after the holiday season is over. And then Wes sent me that video from Smarter Every Day, and which is kind of not a smack in the face, but
Which one is that?
It was definitely a, hey, he's talking directly to you, kind of suggested that I go and watch this video. Smarter Every Day did a video about not losing your voice chasing the YouTube algorithm and stuff like that.
Oh, that one. Okay. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, because he talked about performance on videos lately and how his videos have changed, and how he plotted out on a graph, on a dot graph, was that what it's called? Spectrograph. Yeah. Like the length of his videos, how well they performed, all that kind of stuff, and he was showing like how trends have changed how he does his videos. And then he talks about realizing that it's like he's losing his voice trying to appease an algorithm to get more views or better watch time or anything like that. And then he's like, I'm not going to do any of that anymore. I'm just going to make the videos that I want to make because they're mine. And then he goes into talking about his interest in things that are old and the tangible natures of like old photography and things like that. And it kind of
tangented, yeah.
Yeah, it shifts from there, but the basic gist of the video, which is why Wes sent it to me, is not losing your own voice trying to chase an algorithm and change your videos and whatnot.
Granted, that's easier said than done when you have like 10 million subscribers, you know what I mean?
True.
So yeah, he's making that adjustment when he's already built a pretty dedicated community.
Yeah.
Which I think is possibly the bigger thing to chase as opposed to the algorithm.
Yeah.
But it's hard to completely separate the two.
It is.
Since one could possibly help support the other.
But Wes was like, you need to watch this. And I watched it and I'm like, point taken, sir. And it was effective in me realizing that it's like, yeah, I need to still be me, not spend not be that part of me that just spends so much time fretting over stats and all that kind of stuff. Like Sean.
Well, hopefully now, since you've got some other gigs going, then that'll open up that possibility to still do that, you know?
Yeah, which I never wanted to play devil's advocate whenever you guys talked about it, but I was like, my situation is like, this is how I'm supporting my family. Like, I know you're not supposed to chase an algorithm, all that kind of stuff, but it's like, if my videos don't perform well, like that has a direct impact on my wife, my kids, my wife's happiness, like all that kind of stuff.
And we always understood the reasoning for it too.
Yeah,
that was never a mystery to us.
Yeah. But now that, you're right. Now that I do have a side gig, and now that you do have a side gig that is doing very well, actually, I'm surprised that it's doing very well. So that it relieves that tension and kind of unlocks my ability to just focus on making my own videos in my own voice, and hopefully my next video will be part of that. It'll be fun.
It's good.
Yeah, that's what I've been up to. One of the many things.
So we know that this time of year is, it's a time of year that we're in one sense we're getting ready to kind of like wind down and hopefully take some time off and be with the family and stuff. But there's also a time of the year where a lot of information gets released that we tend to get excited about and geek out about. And I think this happens a couple different times a year. So usually in June, like with E3 time, all these different properties announce what they're going to be doing. Usually around like different award shows. Well, there was an award show that just happened that usually has like a lot of new content being released with it. So I wonder if you guys want to do kind of a minor geek out session earlier in the episode and talk about some of the things that have been announced and just anything else that we're generally thinking about right now.
Yes.
Yep. So
it is not an event that I had any interest in watching.
No,
at all.
and that's not what I'm suggesting either.
Yeah.
It just so happens that there's like a big content dump that piggybacks on the top of the event, which was I don't even know what entity was putting on the award, but there's like a video game award show, which I had no interest in watching, but I know that with that comes all this new marketing material for movies and games that come out, and that's kind of what I get more excited about than some game that arbitrarily won some award. So there were some game trailers released and there were some movie trailers released. So Adam,
What do you want
you
to talk
saw,
about first?
any one that caught your attention the most, and I guess we could start there. I can start if you guys want.
Go for it.
I think one of the big surprises movie wise over the last couple of years was the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I think it was far better than I ever anticipated a movie like that could be. I mean, I've liked Sonic as a character. I've never been that invested in the story, but it was a really, really fun movie. And of course, at the end, they hinted at the second one, and the trailer for the second one was just released. And it looks pretty much like it's going to be in the right direction in the same vein as the first one, which looks really fun. The one thing that I thought was interesting, though, and they only show so much in the trailer, but you have the addition of all these other CG characters like Sonic. And I think the first one worked out really well because it was that one CG character for the most part and humans. But the more CG characters you add in, it changes the overall feel of the film. So hopefully it doesn't tilt the balance too much. But overall, it still looked pretty fun. So it was kind of fun seeing that.
Tilt the balance in like a Pokemon type way, or
Yeah. I guess
not Pokemon, but Detective Pikachu is what I'm.
I knew what you meant, and it's funny is I wasn't sure how to articulate that, but I think what you said kind of hits that a little bit, where it starts feeling maybe too cartoony, or you start losing that grounded realism in quotation marks, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it still looked fun. I mean, I'm probably a little bit older than what the target market should be, so I probably shouldn't be too critical of it.
I think it's debatable.
Yourself.
I think you're the ideal market because you're going to bring your kids to it.
That is the ideal market, is something that we grew up with, that we have the disposable income to then pay to get our kids to go to, so that a new fan base gets generated. And I
guess I still have this weird psychological problem where I'm like this 40-year-old bearded guy going to see a free creature movie. So I know you guys are right, but it's still weird for me sometimes. I guess openly admit that, but yeah.
Do you guys think that we would have had a sequel had the original version of the movie been released?
No. No.
Before the fan uproar and they changed the way the character looked? Or do you think that was all bogus? Some people think it was like staged.
I think regardless of it, whether it was staged or not, I think it would be an interesting experiment. At least, we'll never know for sure. Because if the movie is no different than it was originally, and the only thing that was changed is the character, would people still have accepted it? Or would we have eventually just gotten used to the look of that character? Or would it have been a Han Solo situation where no matter what's done with the movie, you just can't get over the portrayal of that one character? I don't know.
I think for the deluxe box set, they should have had the other version like on another disc.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, really, I haven't looked to see what the contents of that Blu-ray
I mean, because it would have to exist, right?
They should at least acknowledge that whole situation. If not, that's a super missed opportunity, because that's very unique. That one, the studio even changed anything, right? Because most of the time that happens, they're just going to go ahead and go through. I can barely think of another example of some property completely changing the way the main character looks based on fan uproar. In the amount of time, the timeline was pretty tight that they came out like, oh, here's the new one. We're like, wow, that was fast. Like, I don't know. It just seemed weird to me that.
Which kind of feeds into the whole conspiracy theory being staged.
It was really fast. But granted, it's only one character. But, I mean, I don't know.
Maybe it was just a reskinning once you have all the model wireframe work done.
Right.
You already have all the movement data. I guess it's just I guess it's possible.
Like deep faking your own,
Yeah.
your own content. I mean, I hadn't heard of that. I haven't even thought of that. My kids are excited for that one. I'm excited to watch it.
It looks fun. It looks fun.
In all honesty, like Jim Carrey is a cartoon character in that first one too.
Yeah.
Well, and they pushed him like more into the look of that role too.
Yeah. He was old. He like tapped into the old school Jim Carrey stuff, which I liked.
Yeah.
You know,
I kind of thought he was done with that, but I'm kind of glad that he's still willing to do that for the kiddos, I guess. All right, so that was mine. What do you guys? What caught your attention?
I don't remember all the ones that came out. The only one that comes to mind, just because I mean it looked interesting, was the Star Wars Eclipse from a visual perspective. Now they've done this stuff before with Star Wars properties, where the trailers by and far exceed the game content. You know, like
thank you
like
for
Star Wars Unleashed, like those 2 trailers they had for that series. Oh my gosh, like I would watch that all day long. But then the games come out and they're complete garbage. So they release such a small amount of detail. But I think the stuff that they, based on the other properties that the studio that they have doing that video game, I think the way the trailer looks will be indicative of the game's look. You just didn't see gameplay because they have a tendency to in their games to look, they're like cinematic adventure games where it's like tons of character dialogue and there's like branching storyline trees where the story changes based on decisions you make. There's not like a lot of
Mass Effect.
Yeah, like Mass Effect or something like that. So that, I mean, if you look at the trailers for their previous titles, which honestly there haven't really been that many for Quantic Dream. I mean, they had Beyond Two Souls, and Heavy Rain is the one I always think of, being that like cinematic kind of experience. And,
they're the ones making it?
Yeah, and
Detroit, like really telling of what this game is going to be.
Interactive storytelling.
It's going to be like an Old Republic type of experience, I think. It Star Wars is in such an awkward and tough place right now because nobody, well, I don't want to say no one. The franchise as a name, it seems to be kind of like a little bit in disarray. The last 3 movies people aren't ultimately happy with. They still have these little successes along the way with
Mandalorian.
Which one?
Mandalorian.
Oh yeah, with Mandalorian, and they're trying to capitalize on that. But then on the game side, you had Fallen Order. Was that?
Yeah,
the name?
that's good. It was decent. Yeah, it's good.
That was supposed to be good. So
Battlefield 1 and 2, or not Battlefield. Battlefront 1 and 2.
Yeah. And I know they want to revisit like Old Republic, but I mean it's already been done. I think there's a remaster coming out, and this game is supposed to be taking place during a time they're calling the High Republic. So they're trying to fully remove it from like the current lore with Luke Skywalker and Rey or whatever, and be able to have it in its own timeline, I guess, that doesn't have to be serving the other story, which is potentially good, but I don't know if it'll be too far removed for people to feel a connection to. So we'll see.
I would hope at least that Star Wars is a wide enough universe that if it doesn't tie into the original trilogy, that it could still stand on its own. Because laser swords are cool. Come on.
Well, I'm not saying that it doesn't have the potential or can't actually stand on its own, but more of whether the fans are going to buy into it. Because it still has to have enough familiarity that this is Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think there's a risk of just turning into like a political drama because it seems so much to do with structure and order and everything else, and that's not always what people want to interact with. Is it how much of the game is going to take place in the Senate?
Yeah. But I mean, they definitely seem to be like turning away from feature films and working more on like small TV series and video games. Like indefinitely.
We talked about it before.
Yeah. So there's a lot more that can be tied into with like video games, and there was that. I almost think that I don't know that they're going to do this, but there was a video game. Was it The Expanse? that tied in directly
There's
to a
a show?
TV show
Yeah.
that was happening at the same time. And so events in the game were tied into the TV show. And it's something that they could potentially do, but I don't know if they will do that. Was it The Expanse?
Yes, it was.
It was. Okay, yeah. And
a
so
lot... Go ahead.
that-
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say it's an interesting take on, they're definitely focusing on video games and TV shows, and it is an opportunity to tie those two industries together rather than like solely focusing on feature films, which yeah, they've gotten away from.
And Star Wars has had a property for years now that they could capitalize on, but haven't for some reason, and that is they still have an MMO that is in use. Star Wars Republic, right?
Old Republic.
Old Republic.
No, it's not.
I had the same. I tripped up on the same thing. It is called Old Republic. The game you're thinking of was Knights of the Old Republic, which is different.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
yeah.
because Wes and I have this
I wish
conversation.
they didn't name it that way. It is so
Yes.
confusing.
Yes.
But
We-
you have this
we did.
persistent online world where supposedly a lot of things have happened. I've never played the game,
I have.
but I know that still a lot of people still like it, and I think that that would have been interesting, because even like I think Wes had said before about these games that come out and these beautiful, really engaging cinematics. I think the cinematic for that game is an example of that.
Yeah.
And everybody wants more of it, and they're like, nah, that's not what we wanted. Not what we wanted to do with it. I'm like, why not? I mean, it's more engaging than than The Last Jedi. Yeah, I'm never gonna get over that.
No, I did. That was a straight conversation that Wes and I had, because we were talking about the teaser trailer, and I'm like, yeah, all it is a cinematic. The game is probably going to look terrible, because I talked about Old Republic and how the cinematics for that game were just incredible. Make a feature-length movie out of that, yes, please and thank you, because oh my gosh. But then you go and play the game, and you're like, what is this garbage? Like, this is not the experience of watching those cinematic trailers. And so at first I wasn't excited at all after watching that trailer. I'm like, meh, because I'm like, this is just going to be another one of those things where it's a great cinematic, but the game is just meh. But now that I know that the company that did Beyond Two Souls is doing it, that kind of gives me a little bit more hope for the game.
It's funny how long all that's been going on too. Because I remember for years everybody says, look, we want a movie about Revan. We want a movie about Revan because it's a really engaging story about the character.
Mm-hmm.
But no, let's make a movie about Palpatine's granddaughter.
You're not bitter.
No, not at all.
Yeah. I was really excited for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I really like that series. I like Harry Potter. Like, I like that world and whatnot. But I love Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Probably because Newt is my favorite male character in all of cinema. Like, I love Newt Scamander as a male lead.
Do you identify with him?
A lot, yes.
I see you as being Newt.
But it's like, in a world of like Marvel and superheroes and like just the kick that a lot of feature films are, you have this character that's a pacifist and that is curious and compassionate and sympathetic and can still be the main lead of, what is it going to be, 7 films, 8 films, something like that. I think that is amazing. I love that in a character. Are they planning
on doing that many of those?
Yeah. J.K. Rowling said that there's going to be 7. I think it's 7.
That's crazy.
Fantastic Beasts movies.
Because it's really, you know what though, is I think the first 2 really were Fantastic Beasts, but it's getting shoehorned in a different direction really quickly because it's going to turn into the Dumbledore show.
Yeah, I know. It's less Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them and the more, definitely Dumbledore prequel. Which I hope it seems, because the first one was definitely very Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. The second one, it was Dumbledore sprinkled with Fantastic Beasts. This one, there seems to be more Fantastic Beasts than in the second one. I don't know. I'm excited for it. I'm cautiously optimistic.
They're running themselves into an odd spot with the story.
They are, because we know, like, the problem is we already know what's going to happen. We already know the end. And so getting there, they have to do a really good job in getting there to maintain this momentum over 4 more films, because it's all leading up to the fight between Dumbledore and Newt and Grindelwald. And so it's like, okay, so there has to be more that happens, and we'll see. I'm excited for it. I know it's not a property everybody likes, but that's okay, because I like it.
I love the property, but Fantastic Beasts isn't exactly what I want to see. I actually want to see the founding of Hogwarts with the 4 founders.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would be a fantastic story. But I am a very much a Wizarding World geek.
Yeah.
Yep. As Wes is like ready to, okay, I've had enough of this one.
There was, what other movie trailers were there? There was The Matrix, and especially there was also that Unreal Engine. Oh,
The Unreal Engine demo.
do you not want me to talk about that? Is that what
Sean
you're
saw
covering
that.
your ears?
No, that's fine, because I thought you were going to talk more about the trailer.
Oh,
of,
no,
of
no,
the
no,
actual
no.
movie.
Okay. So have you seen the video where they showcased the Unreal Engine 5? Yeah. Okay. There was a lot of talk around that I saw online of the Unreal Engine 5, and I don't know if it's in conjunction with it, but Blender, I have seen a huge uptick in integration with live film and Blender than I ever have before. So something has happened within the last couple months, it seems, that between Unreal Engine, post Mandalorian with everything, projection mapping like that, and building worlds digitally that you can insert, live action actors into, that it just seems to have culminated into that Unreal Engine 5 Matrix showcase that they did.
Part of what happened was both Unity and Unreal invested a large amount of money into Blender, because Blender, being an open source piece of software, is done by volunteers and donations to basically develop each new version. Which version? What do you call it? I guess version 3 just got released for Blender.
Mm-hmm.
So by those companies investing into Blender, they're also writing tools to make sure that they talk to each other. So development is able to move a lot faster than it normally would. And the technology that was developed and used on Mandalorian is now going to be commonplace in a lot of different places. And it's scaling up production. It's increasing the pace of production, and you get things like this.
Yeah. So I think I'm more excited for Matrix Revolutions than Revolutions?
Awakenings
than the integration with all the stuff around Blender, not Blender, but
Resurrections.
5. Resurrections, whatever it is. Matrix 4, 5, 7, whatever one we're on.
Resurrections is the movie. Awakenings was the tech demo.
It's fair.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I get excited at the possibilities of the new engines that come out every year or every other year whenever they showcase a new one. But I've learned to hold reservations around what the implementation of that technology is going to look like, because I think about, because the last time something big like this happened was Watch Dogs, right? When they did the showcase of the new Unreal Engine and Watch Dogs came out, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, that game is going to be amazing. Like, because the gameplay footage of Watch Dogs was just incredible. And then the game came out and you're like, this is not the same thing.
Well, that happened last year with Cyberpunk.
Oh yeah, Cyberpunk was another one. So like these are cool whenever they do these video game engines in showing quote unquote like gameplay footage. They're really cool, but I always hold reservations saying that's probably not what the end result is going to look like. And so that's all the stuff we're geeking out about. Was there anything else? I can't even think of what other stuff came out of that.
As far as that stuff, I can't remember.
Those are the highlights for me too.
there are like a lot of game trailers and stuff released, but um, I wasn't really. I mean, other than the Star Wars one, I don't think there's anything that really caught my attention. At least worth bringing up right now. Nothing that I think I'm eagerly anticipating at the moment. But I'm sure as E3 time gets, well, that's still like 6 months away. But I think that's probably it for right now.
I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to Kerbal Space Program 2, but there was no new trailer for that, but it's supposed to come out next year. They keep delaying it. Every year it comes up, it's like, oh, we're doing it next year, and next year, and next year.
I don't know why I thought the second one was already out.
If it was out, I wouldn't be on the podcast anymore. I would be playing that right now.
At least we know where your priorities are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys will play too, because it's multiplayer. Or will be multiplayer, supposedly. But let's see. Besides that, I think the other thing we wanted to talk about and geek out about a little bit is a movie that has come out a couple months ago now. I think around Halloween.
So finally, all of us have seen.
It took that long for all of us
I
to
think it's about
see
3
it.
weeks ago or so. So we're going to talk a little bit about Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'm sure that we're going to be covering some spoilers. So if you have not quite seen the movie yet and don't want anything spoiled, at least things that we're going to possibly talk about, you might want to pause here for about 15, 20 minutes and check back in towards the end of the show, or just kind of pause here and kind of resume after you've seen the movie. You've been warned, and I guess we're going to go ahead and get into it.
Let's
All right,
do it.
initial thoughts. Ready, go.
Amazing.
I really, really liked it.
I wholeheartedly agree with both those comments.
It was the perfect example of how you do a tribute to a actor and a character respectfully and not feel like it's shoehorned in, and do it in a way that is expected and surprising based on the movie you're there to see. Like, it wasn't surprising that the things that happened in that movie happened. I kind of wanted them to happen, but I didn't think they were going to go as far as they did. But they stopped and didn't go too far. Like, the thing they're referring to, if you're still listening and wondering, so Egon's character is a ghost. And at the end of the movie, he shows up and helps out, which was awesome. When they were all, like when he grabs her hands and like helps her shoot the proton pack, I was like getting emotional, man. That part was awesome.
My wife and I, like,
I got
had,
chills.
Some like tears running on our face.
Yeah, when they're all standing there, like
Yeah.
all four of them again, like that was awesome. And the fact that they decided not to give him like a speaking voice,
Thank
it
you.
added so
Yes.
much.
Yes.
I mean, because that would have broken the
Probably out of
disbelief.
practicality too, in some ways.
Yeah, absolutely. But they took that, I'm not going to say lack of technology, because they can definitely do it now. But in the, like, regards to like Leia, like it takes something away when, it's supposed to be this emotional moment, and then your suspension of disbelief is broken, because then you're thinking,
Grand Moff Tarkin moment.
yeah, you're thinking like, how'd they get the audio? Did he, you're not thinking about, at least I, as like a fan, I'm thinking like, when did they record this? Is this a deleted thing? Is this like, AI generated speech, which they can do now? Like, and I'm missing the moment there, right? And because they chose not to do that, I still wondered afterwards, like how they got the footage or whatever. And I did some research after and found out that it was all, CG, and they did it in a perfectly great way where they used the, ghost effect to hide any possible imperfections that might have been distracting from like the uncanny valley of a CG character. All that's hidden, and so it's perfect. It was great.
Yeah. I loved it way more than I thought I would. I knew I would probably like it, but oh my gosh, it was fantastic. And I think the thing that I loved about it most is the fact that like a lot of the content that we consume is very serialized, like Marvel and the Star Wars and all this other kind of stuff. And so in terms of fan service, there's always this stuff that's injected into these things for fan service that is And so it just kills it. Like Han Solo is a fan service film that was terrible because it was fan service.
Any fans.
Yeah, it didn't serve any. It wasn't a story that couldn't stand on its own. And so the fan service that they injected into that movie just was, it's so cringy. But with Ghostbusters, like this definitely is a fan service film. I hope they go on past this because I would love to see more. It was fantastic. But if not, like this as a fan service film was done so well because the story like stood on its own. And so those elements that were put in there for fan service like just added to the story instead of making it cringy or taking away from it. And I loved that. I thought it was great. That part of it was just so well done.
Yeah, Donovan, I think you touched on something interesting. A lot of and I don't know if this is everybody's perception, but a lot of the big movies that come out now seem to be balancing on a surprise of some sort, like a secret. Like Spider-Man is supposed to come out this week. Everybody's just waiting to see if some of the rumors are true.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of ruining movies a lot right now. And I like the fact that this movie, at least for Ghostbusters, it didn't seem like that was the case. That I enjoyed the story. I wasn't just waiting for some sort of payoff. I enjoyed the story from start to end, which is something I've missed for movies a lot because of the culture built up around secrets and surprises and tie-ins and Easter eggs.
And a reveal for a reveal's sake.
Yeah, or watching a movie because I just want to see what the damn end credit is. I think that this reminded me this is how it feels to watch a good movie in the theater. And regardless of some of the payoff that did happen out at the end, I enjoyed, like I said, the entirety of the story. They weren't entirely overly concerned with world building. They did have some things that they could reference to in the past, but it didn't feel overpowering.
Mm-hmm.
Probably has also helped that it's been 20 years, or actually longer, 30 years probably since the last one. Something else I think is interesting is that, when the first one came out, I was, I don't know, 4, 5. And then when the second one came out, I was still fairly young. So my perception of the Ghostbusters, seeing it in the theater, I was still very young. But now as an adult, looking back, it felt like the right tone and perspective after all this time. And I noticed it was set in Oklahoma.
Filmed in British Columbia, but yes, set in Oklahoma.
At one point, I'm like, is there any like weird architecture thing in Oklahoma that I don't know about?
So there are a couple of shots that actually were in Oklahoma. The mountains, the Glass Mountains actually are in Oklahoma. That if for anybody that's been following me for longer than 2 years, I've done social media posts and whatnot when I've gone out to the Glass Mountains. So those are there. So
I didn't know Oklahoma had any mountains. I thought it was completely flat.
Yeah, it's technically a mountain, but yeah, and they're amethyst. There's like a mineral in the soil there that makes them sparkle. This is why they call them the Glass Mountains.
That's cool.
I think it's amethyst. But yeah, I was like, oh, that's the one shot. And it was actually in Oklahoma. The rest
I was hoping that the idea that like an archaeological site was actually true, just because it would add to some of the myth.
Yeah. No, with all the talk in the science teacher's room about like fracking and going from no earthquakes to like 1,000 earthquakes a year, that totally true. Like all of that. But beyond that, no. No, there's no mine.
So I have a question, a little bit devil's advocate, but also just curious your guys' thoughts. So, like, one of the gripes that I remember hearing, not just from the first movie of The Force Awakens, but consecutive ones, is that they used so many of the old story beats, and it almost like mirrored like one of the old movies, and that it was not new enough to like warrant like a new movie. It was sort of like digging up the old stuff, like you mentioned earlier about how they used Palpatine again. They resurrected Palpatine for the sake of some story or whatever. Or they have a giant sphere that's a giant, shoots a giant laser at some planets and blows them up. Like we've seen this before. It's like part of the poetry of the media is that repeating these story beats for good or for bad. So here they're using the same enemies that are beloved, sure, but it's the same terror dogs and it's the Gozer and like it. At what point? How is that fine line like? On one side of it's too far, and on one side of it's like nostalgia, awesome fan service. Like there's like that fence. I can't even see it to describe it well enough of how this works. But there's a difference. I just don't know how to discern it.
I think I openly accept it because there's only 3 Ghostbuster movies and 9 Star Wars movies.
You're throwing out the one that we're not talking about, but sure.
You're right, because in my mind that one doesn't exist.
I agree. I told Grant that there's a third one. He's like, why can't we watch? I'm like, because it doesn't exist. He's like, that doesn't make sense. And they clearly don't, acknowledge it here either, which is good.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's like 2 sides of the same coin in a way.
You're completely right, and maybe I'm a little bit biased, and I chose to ignore it.
Yeah.
But it also didn't seem as distracting.
Yeah.
I think it helped that it didn't take place in New York.
Yep.
It was in a new location. That helped mask that a little bit, even though it was similar in those, like, the story, like the main beats of the story.
Yeah.
I'll just openly say that I'm openly biased, saying that it didn't bother me because of some of those differences.
Because I mean, the callouts were there, like the Spores collection in the basement or whatever, and the Twinkie and the Crunch Bar, and like they had.
The one thing I really liked, with all that though, it felt like there was some supporting information that helped better round out the story about like the building and how that building was constructed and why it was constructed that way.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they did another one after this that was exactly the same, then I might go, well, we could. We should be exploring a little bit more of what could possibly be done.
That would probably be my only gripe about Ghostbusters is the fact that it's like, because it was Gozer and because it was the Demon Dogs, that the tension didn't seem to be there as much in this one as it was in the first one. Because
we kind of have been through it before.
Yeah. But still,
the jump scares in this movie were on point. Let me just say, because like my whole family and myself included, and like they had the moments where like there's gonna be a jump scare right now. I can feel that there's a jump scare. My hair on my arm is tingling before I'm scared, and then I'm like, oh, I guess they didn't do it. Boom! And like, oh god, they did it. Why am I so stupid? It fell for it again. Haha. Like they did it like 3 or 4 times, like perfectly. And like I looked over at my daughter and she's like watching the movie, like when the terror dogs are like at full effect, she's just like this. She's like staring with her eyes as wide as I've ever seen them in my life. And she was just like not blinking for like 2 minutes. I like nudge my wife and we both like look over down the row and she's just staring, like absorbing all of this ectoplasm straight into her cornea. It's just like hilarious. But
so I did have a thought.
Yes.
In answering your question, is that I don't feel like they're rehashing. Is it Gozer? Gozer. Okay, I don't feel like they're rehashing it like they tend to do with like Star Wars stuff, but they're continuing the story. Like they're continuing the story in a way that adds a new element to it. Does that make sense? Because it's not bringing Gozer back for Gozer's sake. It's the fact that this spot directly...
They explained it in the story that...
everything happening in the first movie, which is how we knew all these characters, but its origins are right here. And so it's...
added another... It's really subtle, though, like the difference. Yeah.
Because you're right. Like when
you had the Keymaster, and you had the two people that are into each other, and one of them's Goofy by the end, and he's I don't know.
Now, if they make a 4th one and they bring Vigo back,
I know.
Oh gosh,
then it's a problem. There's a mysterious painting in a weird museum in Oklahoma.
That is food for thought, though.
So let's get back to. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's just like, how is it not too much in Ghostbusters?
Right. I also loved it, right?
We're all agreeing that it's like, it wasn't too much, but like, how is it?
Yeah. How
not
is
so
it
much
too
for
much?
Ghostbusters, but when we watch something else, it's like, no,
I don't
come
know.
on, really?
Is it because we haven't been inundated with Ghostbusters media between then and now? Or we're like
That is
cynical
true.
about it? We still have that kid nostalgia. It's like if they did another Gremlins or something, right? Like we would be somewhat skeptical, like, oh, here we go again. But there'd be a part of us that's like tapping into that reserve of childhood energy and interest that hasn't been drained out of our, bodies yet. Like,
If they do another movie, which in some ways I don't want them to, but if they do another movie, I think that's going to be the tough one.
yeah,
Do you turn it into the Goonies at that point because
Right.
you have a younger cast coming up, who are still really young to be taking on that role socially? Do
I
you
don't know.
kind
The
of?
girl was fantastic.
She was great.
No, she was. Do you keep the old farts around?
I think.
I
yeah.
think that this should be their swan song. I think
I
they
think
should
so,
be.
too.
Yeah. But I worry about what is typically done in those situations just to kind of drag things out. I think they'll ruin
Yeah.
the franchise potentially if they do.
I mean, I think this is their swan song, considering
I hope
it's
so.
like knowing everything that had to happen for this movie to even happen, because it wasn't going to happen, and all
for so
three
long
of them
it's
were like,
talked
It
about.
took
No.
Egon dying to happen, which
Yeah.
is weird. Right?
like it was not going to happen, and so
it's interesting because usually an actor dying ends any possibility of it happening, but here him dying enabled it to happen.
Yeah.
And
Like,
it
that's
just
so
happens to
crazy.
be Ghostbusters.
Right. Like, it's so weird.
It's weird for me to think about like his family
Yeah.
going to see this film. That would be so weird for me.
And I read the article saying that his daughter gave the approval for them to use his likeness, she saw it ahead of time to make sure that it was like well done. She said like that's the
Well, his
stipulation.
son
It needs to be
directed it,
done.
right?
Say
No,
again?
the son of the original director directed it, not Harold Ramis's son.
No.
Ivan Reitman was the original director, but Jason Reitman directed it.
Right.
Yeah, his son.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a couple questions though. One, did any of you guys secretly hope and sort of expect for Rick Moranis to show up? Because he is acting now in limited capacity.
I was wondering if he was going to.
I thought he was going to pull like a Honey I Shrunk the Kids, he's coming back for that as a series on Disney Plus. He's been in an ad with Ryan Reynolds recently. He did a thing on that sitcom that deals with the Jewish. I can't remember what it's called. There's a Jewish family or something. I don't remember what it's called. He came back for like a guest spot on that. Anyways, I kind of hope
Like
that
the Goldbergs?
Goldbergs. Yeah, thank you. Yes. And so he's not like retired anymore. His kids are adults now, so there's not a reason for him not to. And I was sort of hoping he would show up, just in some capacity. So a couple,
As like a patron at Walmart when the demon dog
Yeah.
destroys everything.
yeah. So I got a couple questions. Okay, so here's a couple gripes or questions that I had because you can't. I mean, it's part of geeking out is like sort
I
of
think
the
that would've
minutia.
taken away from it a little bit.
So I should not speak about it.
No, go for
Okay.
it. Do it.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like at some point that Egon's plan was for his grand kids or the family to move back in to complete this step, right? That's part of. Is that what the movie leads you to believe? Is that it was part of his plan for them to finish what he started, or was it an accident that the traps? I guess it was an accident the traps didn't go off, or like the capacitor didn't activate.
Yeah, I think he fully intended to end it himself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was actively trying to pass it on to somebody else.
Okay.
But there was a contingency plan there, hence the trap set in the floor and everything like that.
Right. He did that on purpose. So yeah.
Yeah.
And someone, I forget, I think maybe the girl or somebody said something in like the last third of the movie saying that he planned for us to do this or something along those lines. So I was wondering, okay, if that's true or even if it's not true, one, how did they have the suits that fit the kids? If they
thought about that
if
too.
they were all Egons in his closet, okay.
I thought about that too.
where did the OG Ghostbusters get their proton packs? Because Ray claimed that in the phone call that Egon cleaned them out, therefore
I thought
they
about
shouldn't
that too.
have any hardware anymore. And if you say, well, they got it from the mine because there were proton packs in the mine that were like, not being used anymore, how would they know to go there? Plus they're 70 years old spelunking down into a spiritually infested mine. So that was like, okay, that didn't make sense. The other one is, where the hell were the cops when the kids went back to get all the stuff from the impound, like in the, evidence lockers? There was no cops in the police station at all.
It's Oklahoma.
Or is it because the creatures or the ghosts were running wild throughout the town? I didn't think I saw enough of that. Like it felt like localized from the mountain and the house. It didn't, even though they had like one shot maybe of the ghost at the diner or whatever.
Muncher. Oh no,
The diner
zombie guy.
getting served coffee or something like that. Yeah, which is reminiscent of the guy in the taxi driver ghost from the original. It didn't seem like other people interacted with the ghost to give credibility to like the crazy person that lived in the dirt farm or whatever. Like it didn't seem, you didn't see it from their perspective to like oh, there was no like we as an audience got that resolution to like he wasn't crazy, this was part of the plan, that's cool. But for the next one, has everyone else witnessed all this craziness, or were they just like not there? Because you didn't see him running around terrified. At least I could have missed it. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but I probably am. But I'm just curious if
No, I don't think you're thinking too much into it. I think there has to be a suspension of disbelief a little bit. It's like any Disney movie. You just can't think about it too much.
Yeah, it
Then
falls
just
apart.
all falls apart.
Yeah.
A couple of things would have been more interesting to actually actively address, like the suits not fitting.
Yes.
Like maybe having duct tape wrapped around.
Yeah.
Like on the wrists and the legs to kind of hold off. I mean, they kind of look like a save of Marshmallow Man coming out in some of those suits, though.
Right. And like,
but I mean, some of the kids aren't that much smaller than them, but enough to where it should be kind of
tall.
apparent.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like the one that stood out to me when I saw the movie was the thing about the proton packs, and Ray saying that they were all taken, but here they have their own again. Don't know.
Yeah.
Who the heck is the mom?
The actress?
I don't remember where she's from.
Egon's wife. Who is the
Oh,
mom?
they didn't say. It's not
like,
Annie
in the
Potts.
first two-
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not her, even though it's heavily implied. But even if it was,
Well, she
it's
talks
like,
to her and doesn't say, "Hey, daughter, here's your house."
I know.
Yeah.
I was like, if it's not her, if it is her, then that conversation in the beginning super weird.
Yeah.
But if it's not her, who the heck is the mom? Like,
I don't know.
yeah, you can't think about it too much. Can't read into it too much.
Yeah. It was great. I loved it.
I did too. Between Ghostbusters and Arcane, I have such a renewed hope for cinematic storytelling that for the future.
Although I did pick up on one typo, or I guess, is it a typo if it's handwritten on a dry erase board? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. There's a scene where at the beginning, Paul Rudd's character calls her back, or she goes back into his office or whatever while everyone else is watching Cujo or whatever in the classroom, and there's a whiteboard where he's like drawing all these like diagrams for like the seismic activity. He spells spherical wrong on the dry erase board behind him. I'm pretty sure it's spherical. He had like the PH transposed or something. And I was like, it distracted me. I'm like, oh, he's not that smart. He misspelled a word. That's like right there. And I think maybe they just didn't catch it when they were like making the movie. It was just kind of funny. But anyways, I can't not see that crap.
So out of the 7 movies I've seen in the theaters since July,
Yes.
I think this one has been the best. And since the movie that I saw right before Ghostbusters was The Eternals, this was a nice little replacement for that memory.
I quite enjoyed Shang-Chi, but yeah, this and that one, those two were good.
That's right. That other one I really like too.
Yeah.
So I told my wife that the Ghostbusters Afterlife was the movie I saw for my birthday.
Yeah.
Because I am actively erasing the Eternals from that slate.
Are you guys disappointed we didn't see Slimer though? Or is he the one that's shown in the post-credit scene? So you guys saw the post-credit scenes?
Yeah.
There
Like,
was.
well, they didn't show a ghost, but they implied that
The
the
light.
light flashing in the chamber below the firehouse indicated something was in there.
That it was loaded. Yeah.
I missed that.
You didn't see it?
What?
Or did you not
I don't
stay?
think I saw it.
So there's a post. Did you see the mid-credit scene where it shows
Bill Murray.
and Sigourney Weaver?
Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, because in the credits they're like listing the people, and then it says Sigourney Weaver, and we're like, there is no Sigourney Weaver. Then immediately Sigourney
Saw that,
Weaver's
too.
there. Like, yeah. After that,
Yeah, I
after
saw
all
that.
the credits, like Marvel style, there's a real end credit scene.
Did I miss that?
You must have.
Oh my god!
Because it showed
Dude,
Ernie
we go back
Hudson.
and see it.
Ernie Hudson taking the vehicle and like pulling it into the bay of the firehouse. So the camera was like looking out the bay from inside the firehouse. It was all like closed out. It wasn't like a restaurant or a Starbucks like they had implied in the movie earlier on. And he apparently owns it, and he has him driving in saying like he's going to restore it or something along those lines, right, Donovan?
He's gonna bring him back.
Bring it back.
And then yeah. Well, because it starts in his office.
Right.
Where he's talking to
Annie Potts again.
Annie Potts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he's talking to her, talking about what he's been up to since the Ghostbusters, and then it goes into the firehouse, and then it pans. I don't want to spoil this for you, although I guess we kind of already have.
Yeah,
but,
it pans
Well,
down
that's
to
fine.
the
I'm gonna go
basement
online and look
level.
for it now.
It goes
Yeah.
down the pole or something. I
yeah,
forget.
it goes down the
Yeah.
pole into the basement, and it kind of
The containment chamber.
into the chamber, and the light is flashing, meaning that it's loaded, and you're just like,
And that's where it ends.
and that's
So-
where it ends.
Cool.
I didn't
Wait.
pick up that Muncher was not Slimer until like 3/4 of the way through the movie.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I thought it was fine that it wasn't Slimer because that
Yeah.
role was being filled.
Maybe that line. Maybe that would have been the line that was too much.
Yeah.
Too.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I think it's one of the first movies we've talked about in a while that we've really liked.
That we've all. I know
Yeah,
that's
we've-
true.
Yeah.
You don't have cynical me over here being like, oh no. Yeah.
How come Egon didn't get sucked into the ghost traps? He was standing right there, man. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Grant asked that question, and I'm like, "Why do you think?" He's like, "Because he was a good ghost." I'm like, "I guess, yeah." I don't know.
But it's a great question and observation.
He knew exactly where to stand because he designed it. I don't know.
Well, because he wasn't
we'll go
tied
with
to
that.
Gozen. So only the ghosts that were tied to Gozen were the ones that were sucked into the trap. Right?
Sure.
Maybe. I don't know. It's exciting that we all agree. It doesn't happen very often, I admit, but
So the vehicle, I'm thinking of these things I haven't been able to talk about. The vehicle was clearly run down because the kid had to repair it, right? But somehow there was RC ghost trap equipment that was fully charged inside the vehicle that they deployed. The kid deploys with never seeing it before, right?
They had USB-C fast charging.
Yeah, that's right.
or the alternator just charged him while he was joyriding
I guess
through
the
field.
kid is like, "Oh yeah, it's a ghost trap. I know how this works." He's never
It was
seen one.
nuclear powered.
Yeah. Oh man, that's kind of
So what movie are you guys gonna watch next?
Is that a joke?
I'm asking for
Spider-Man No Way
Spider-Man?
Home. It comes out.
Okay.
Well,
We're
I'm going to
watching
see it
in
on
2 days.
Saturday. Yeah,
In the
Saturday
theater.
at 11 o'clock in the theater. Do we want to talk about theories or no? Is it too close to actually be right and then get mad if someone's right?
I would honestly like
Yeah.
to
Avoid
that
it. Me too.
for this one specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we already have kind of alluded to some of them, but
I think a couple
yeah.
are pretty much confirmed at this point.
And if it's not,
But-
then people are going to go crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's so many other things
Hmm.
that I want to find out about the film, and hopefully it's just a good story, like we said, of for Ghostbusters. I want to enjoy the film from start to end, and not just looking for
I know.
confirmation of these things.
Well, this character has another
You're waiting
film
for
in
the
their
reveal
contract,
they
so
were gonna
therefore they're going to be in this movie. Blah blah blah. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It does detract from it after a while. I agree.
Usually this would be where we branch off into geeking out. Is there anything you're geeking out about that we have not already talked that is worth bringing up?
since we're an hour and a half into this, I don't want to add any more to the conversation. So I'll say no. We've talked about what I've been geeking on about.
Okay.
The Wes, that's you. That's your unofficial cue.
He knows.
So while Wes is doing his thing, I'll just tell you that we all have social media presences. If you didn't already know that, now you do. And you can find us individually for the things that we work on. Wes can be found at Geeksmithing, Sean can be found at Geek Builders, and I can be found at Once Upon a Workbench.
And what my fine podcast mates are referring to is that we also like to take this time, myself, to include us talking about our patrons over at patreon.com/makinggeeks. We thank them every time, and I want to make sure I get the list right, that everything's up to date, so I'm not thanking somebody that's already left being a top patron, because that's important to us. It's a level of respect in our community if you can hold those levels. So all the other patrons, we do not respect you at all. No, I'm just kidding. We love all you guys. You know that I'm joking. Including the top patrons, Jordan, Square Splinter, and Clinton. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for your support. We enjoy talking with you on our Discord server, on our Minecraft server, and our Valheim server. It's fun to have this little community to bounce ideas off of and to geek out about stupid theories. So, and I would say, if you have not watched Hawkeye, shame on you. If you have a chance to watch Hawkeye before you see Spider-Man, I think you should. Because my theory is they're connected in more ways than we know about. And episode 5 was amazing. That's all I'm going to say.
It was really good. Yep. And if you have not done so already, go ahead and check out our website, makinggeeks.com. We have a contact page where you could list questions or suggestions for the show. On the homepage of the site, you could listen to all of our past episodes right there in your browser. And go ahead and check out our store. We have some Making Geeks themed merchandise for your pleasure. So go ahead and check out the website, makinggeeks.com. And we have new episodes of the podcast every Saturday morning on your favorite podcast player of choice. I'd like to thank everybody hanging out in the live chat. It's always fun seeing the side conversation going on while we're here bantering and talking about our weekly topic. And from all of us to all of you, have a great week.
See you guys.
See you.